Hey everyone, if you know by now, I like to start early because I like to make sure that everything is working properly. I always like to make some adjustments, so that's why I start early. So if you like to follow the lines, if you like, I strong suggest that you, I strong suggest that you everything is working according to the plan. I think it's just fine. So, the all good. Yeah. Yes. Any problems, let me know. So, as always, we start early. Let me see if there is any problem. Let me just wait. I'll just wait. So now we can start. I think the out's fine. If you guys have any problem, please let me know. First of all, it's always a pleasure to me to be here. I mean, honestly, I just love it, and it's like a nice opportunity. I always like to talk about topic that I enjoy. Recently, a friend of mine, which I have not, he's not a friend of mine. He's someone that knows me. Then he stopped me to talk about science. I told him, you just found my weak point. I don't like to talk generally, but when you talk about science, I can talk a lot. I can talk for hours. So today I want to talk about something that have been wondering for quite a while. As always, I like to give the credit. I like to make sure that I make the proper attributions. So the title is inspired by a book called The Weapon of Math Destruction. The book was written by Otto O'Neill, I think it was Cat O'Neill, and she has several discussion online. She has I think action on the, I don't know, from Harvard, and she worked for quite a while at Google. But she noticed that the algorithm, they were not very fair. I mean, they are private organization, but they are influencing the public sector. I don't know if you are following the election in Brazil, but there is a mess in Brazil right now. It's not official mess; it's a people mess. Like I like to call the stupidity of the crowd. Most of the time, it's because of algorithm. It's because social media. It's not necessarily social media, but social media is not a public machine; it's a private machine. So they want to make money. Sadly, the title of the live, the title of the book is called "Weapon of Math Destruction." It's a kind of a joke. In English, we have the weapon of mass destruction. You just change the title "Math Destruction" because algorithm, artificial intelligence, is all about mathematics. So you may not see it, but behind every algorithm, behind every artificial neural network, behind every learning machine, every algorithm, every computational thinking, it's mathematics. By the way, I have a book called the Computational Thinking, in which I try to give an idea. The book is not mathematical, but the book is about what's behind the basic algorithm. I cannot say about all of them, but most of them they follow the same pattern. Recently, I have been studying a lot Hannah Arendt. She passed by the Nazi period. She was like terrified about what people can do when Hitler was giving the orders, and she found something interesting. One of her discussion, the fact that people are doing stuff without thinking, losing their humanity, that's one of the reasons why people was able to kill so many people. So many people were sent to death by other people. They became machine. So machine follow similar pattern. The difference that machine is machine. Human can become machine, but machine is machine. Recently, I saw someone on Twitter. This is not the first time I see similar pattern. She was asking why Google, whenever someone type in Portuguese something like Lula, the current president, the one that won, is a thief. So what the thieves live, what the people that the thief lives, the Google is send it to Lula. So the person I asked why Google is doing that. Google is doing that because Google is a learning machine. It's not the first time. If you try to type in Google such as bad hair, that's going to send you to bad people because learning machine is all about pattern. So whenever you make interaction with machine learning, you make interaction with Google Image, Google Translator, you are teaching the machine. So if you keep your prejudice, if you keep your way of humans, the machine is going to learn. We can't eliminate that, sadly. The only thing that you can do, that's not just my discussion, it's a discussion everywhere. It's become a very important discussion. One of the things that the Harari said when the war in Ukraine, the Russian war against Ukraine, was the Putin war, as I like to say, against Ukraine. I don't like to say Russian war. I like to say Putin war against Ukraine. Harari gave an interview, Google Talk, and he said that one of the saddest thing about this war that people is going to stop thinking about artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence must be considered not as a scientific question anymore. It's like a society question. It's about a question of, in the case of China, for example, China is building the first open prison based on AI. So if you can take away all the freedom of human, all the humanity, all the everything become like machine designed for human, that's a kind of thing that should be worried about. So it's not that artificial intelligence is bad. Not artificial intelligence should be like forbidden. I think if you cannot stop progress, you cannot say no to science. Everyone loves science. The point is that people are not thinking about why they're using this stuff. Most of the people thought that as you go on in technology, we will become much more smarter and smarter. Sadly, it didn't happen. There's a book which I do not know the translation in English. It was published in French, but essentially the book goes against this common view, because you are not becoming smarter as we have technology. We are increasing our stupidity. So the question is, why should I not fear the Terminator, but I should still be afraid of artificial intelligence? The answer, the scientific answer, is like this. Artificial intelligence has a huge problem with movement. So in order for us to build a kind of Terminator, Terminator like still Schwarzenegger, we still don't have this kind of technology. I mean, because artificial intelligence can be divided into big groups. They call the artificial general intelligence, and the narrow artificial intelligence. About more than 90% of algorithms, they are based on narrow intelligence. What's a narrow intelligence? Narrow intelligence is intelligence built for solving problems. Even though the artificial intelligence is much more is smarter than the classical algorithm, they still are stupid compared to humans. So they are built for solving problems. For example, if I build an algorithm for image segmentation, even though I can apply transfer learning, I can use, for example, what is transfer learning? Transfer learning is when you take a learning process for one context and you put context. Yes, in my postdoc, I saw some work from another people from the lab whilst I was doing my postdoc. They training process from and applied to medicine for implementation. The context, but the same, is image segmentation. So human has the ability human to adapt accordingly. So machine learning cannot do that, not like human. So the other problem is that I said the model is called a Moivre paradox, not the paradox, but the paradox goes like this. What is very simple for a child to do, the machine cannot do. Yeah, here I mean like movement. When you talk about calculation, like mathematics and so on, machine is very good. Such as one nice example I like to say is a bat. A bat can do a sound localization, which is very effective. Even if you take the best artificial intelligence and you try to use the best artificial intelligence to apply the same principle of a bat, very simple. The brain of the bat is very small. It's a very small brain, but still it can do a huge amount of work. Even if you compare the amount of, for example, one time I was seeing a kind of research show how much energy the brain wastes. It's very low compared to the amount of energy that a computer wastes. So we have a huge amount of problem yet to go to the Terminator. But there is no evidence so far that artificial intelligence is going to want to kill human. Of course, you make, such as the case of transgenic. Transgenic in genetics, they were afraid that the species could be very powerful and take over the other species. So by create transgenic, very powerful species on genetics, on ecology, we create a very powerful species that could take over all over the diversity. But it didn't happen. I mean, of course, it's important that we be cautious. It's important that we always calculate the risk. We cannot be scientist denial. I mean, you cannot deny all the possibilities. We should be careful, but that should not be used to create fear, as happened in Brazil with politics. They are used like, such as they took one context, one research out of context. A research in Brazil, he was trying to create more way for the electronic vote to be much less vulnerable to attack. But then someone took out of context and said that because of this, the election is a fraud. It's not true. So the same case of artificial intelligence. You cannot use a scientist-like reflection to take out of context. The fact that a machine can maybe in the future be autonomous, maybe in the future it can be general, artificial general intelligence, does not mean that it will kill humans. I mean, there is no reason for that. Unless we somehow create this kind of objective. If you say to a machine, your objective is to kill humans, it will go do that, but not because machine goes against it. It's because machine was created for that. That's very sad that we can think that machine one time is going. I mean, I think as a sci-fi movie. By the way, just to remember, this set of live is part of a project of mine. It's an ebook I'm writing. The book is called Sci-Fi by AI by Sci-Fi. And the reason of the book is to use Netflix. I like to joke like you can study, watch Netflix. So the idea is to think about all the complexity of artificial intelligence, but having fun. So when we think about the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, people are not consider all the complexity of the science. I mean, because in the previous life, the previous one was RoboCop. So as I was explained previously, RoboCop has a kind of problem, such as in the first RoboCop, human was very important. Like human was essential for RoboCop. But the next RoboCop was no longer human directed. Now the emotion was eliminated from the robot. Why? Because science changed this in there. So uh, it's not the case of the Terminator yet. The Terminator is new, like it's not very old. But the case of RoboCop is more than 30 years old. So artificial intelligence changed a lot this time. So has changed technology. So in the case of the Terminator, there is one problem that's very easy to see. We still cannot build artificial general intelligence, and also we cannot build machine that can move like human. That's one of the most difficult part, the moral part. We can build machine that can make very fast calculation. We can build machine that can make very very fast image segmentation. When Kasparov he lost to a machine called the Blue. Some people made a kind of a joke that was the last stand of him because people thought if machine can beat Kasparov, so what is next? I mean, people were like afraid. All the Chinese game called Go, China was beaten by deep learning. So people thought, wow, I just lost to machines. So what machine can do next? People forget that machine cannot be creative. There is no creativity machine. There is no try new thing. If you think about human creativity, it's endless. I mean, when you think about how human was so creative to create robots, to create a smartphone, to create artificial intelligence. So this kind of intelligence, create intelligence, they don't have yet. Maybe in the future, but it's a very far future. Here I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about fiction. Uh, Whenever you see a fiction, a movie that's Hollywood, most likely that's fiction. Such as if you compare the Titanic, the original one, the true one, versus the fiction one was the one that was Hollywood the best movie, not the real one. Because reality is not funny. I mean, the life of a scientist is a life that is very connected to reality. So that's why scientists sometimes can be very boring. If you take to get Back to the Future is very fun, but science is not like that. Science is a little bit more boring, like reading an article. I did a PhD. I can tell you, a PhD is very fun, but compared to the sci-fi movie, it's very boring because science is low. In the case of the Terminator, you should not fear the Terminator, but you should fear the fact that artificial intelligence can be biased, such as so the first reference that I gave to you was the book of Walter Neer called the Weapon of Mass Destruction. That's the first reference. The second reference is a podcast called Big Picture Science. So Big Picture Science, they did several episodes talking about machine learning and data science and machine learning. How dangerous is machine learning when you do not pay attention? Such as most of the data they have is about white people and men. It's men and white people. What's the problem of that? The problem that when you train a machine learning, you just see biased data. The machine learning is going to learn just that. The machine learning will be unable to identify the odd one, such as there were a case in which they tried to use machine learning to make judgment. To make judgment, the machine learning was biased against black people. Even judges in real life that were black, they suffered some kind of prejudice. So, of course, we cannot eliminate human prejudice, but we can make sure that machine is going will be taught with unbiased data. Unfortunately, sadly, it's not my discussion. It's already everywhere in this kind of discussion. Why companies such as Facebook, Google, Twitter, they do not worry about the consequence of using machine learning with biased data, such as the case of Lula, in which they associate teeth with Lula, which is the president. Then they associate black hair with black people, which is prejudice against black people. That's not the only one. If you make a literature review, it's not very difficult. Just read a book. I can give you several books that talks about that. As I said, Big Picture Science is a podcast in which they have several episodes about the data bias in artificial intelligence. So the dangers is not that the Terminator is going to kill you with a weapon. It's that machine learning will be taking decisions that are going to exclude you from society. So it's a punishment that already happened. But the difference is that when human make a prejudice, the prejudice is like limited. But when machine make the same mistake, that's why I think the book is called Weapon of Mass Destruction. Because mass destruction. So instead of killing one people, now you'll be able to kill several people, but you'll be able to deny because say that it was machine. So machine is unable to make a judgment if you make a biased data. So if you want to train such as a machine learning for make a judgment for selecting people, the machine will be unable to say that it's a prejudice. Even us as a human, you cannot do it. So most of the prejudice you have come from a society that was biased, such as if you are a person that grew up seeing black people as poor and white people as rich, it'd be hard for you. For example, there's one experiment in which they ask people to they have to make a very fast association. So they have to associate for success with white or black people. They found that people have difficulty associating some word to black people, such as success, such as someone very rich. It does not happen just with black people. It happens as well with female. One time I was in a TED talk in which a CEO from a startup, she's a woman, and she was saying how it was for her to make the meeting. When she went to a meeting, people expect a man, like a very strong man, to be a leader of a startup. It may sound like naive, but it's not naive. It has serious consequence. It means that you are going not to give value to someone because she is a girl or she's a woman. When a machine learn this kind of when machine learn this kind of prejudice by contaminated data, by biased data, that's a kind of method destruction because the consequence of the machine is going to be exclusion of several people. It already happened with human. But the difference is that machine is able to do it much more stronger than human. So if a human is able to exclude one people, machine is going to be able to exclude 1,000 people. As I said before, China is building a prison based on artificial intelligence. So if China is building this kind of including China is being like kind of attention every time by the people, all of the ethical people all over the world, like responsible for the ethics in science. They are calling attention of China because they use artificial intelligence to build a prison, which is a kind of human rights problem. It's so similar to machine taking decision. Imagine the future. Machine is able to. We already have projects in which machine can decide the job. I myself am a defender. I have one book called Computational Thinking. Book is available on Amazon, in which I try to make a proposal of. It's not my proposal. I'm just make a kind of translation to the general public. My PhD was about the mathematical models for medicine. So I believe, as a result of my PhD, as a result of my Master of Science, as a result of my previous studies, that we can in the future use machine to take decision in medicine, to take decision everywhere. My specific case is medicine, but we have studied everywhere. We have studied of smart car, but they already do that. But for example, when you see an advertisement, Google Ads, such as example, that's machine learning. We already had some case in which machine learning show the ad just for one group of people, does not show the ad for the other group of people. Sometimes this ad is a job. It's a job offer. Imagine from a let's say a law point of view, in a real life, you cannot do that. You cannot offer a job just to someone that is white. It's forbidden in most countries to do that. But machine has no regulation, so machine can do that. So machine can make a set of select kind of ad. For example, another problem such as machine just react to reaction. So if you have a speech of anger, a speech of hate, such as in politics, the machine learning is going to be a kind of preference. So if you have someone that has a hate speech, has an anger speech such as let kill the president. Certainly, machine learning is going to optimize for showing the people just this kind of speech. So you have several challenges that you should worry about. Should not worry about Terminator. Terminator is just a fiction, but you should pay attention, as Harari, the author of *Sapiens*, said to TED Talk. He gave an interview to TED Talk when the war of Ukraine started, when Putin decided to attack Ukraine. He did a kind of talk just in the beginning of the war. And he was saying that one of the dangers of the war that people are not going to much pay attention to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence must be considered seriously. It's not a joke. Maybe it was a joke 10 years ago. I wrote a book 10 years ago in Portuguese, in this case, not in English, in Portuguese, in which I was calling attention to the dangers of artificial intelligence. Specifically, I was worried about Google. Specifically, I was worried about Google in Brazil. So I was concerned that people were using artificial intelligence, but they were not asking, they were not learning how to use it in the sense of thinking. They were using the sense of just using. Hannah Arendt, as I said before, I'm studying Hannah Arendt right now. She was worried in 1950, like even before artificial intelligence was possible. She was worried about when human stop thinking, when you start just use it, when you separate reality from action. Artificial intelligence, I'm not against artificial intelligence. It's very important to leave it clear. I have several books. I have several discussions, thoughts about artificial intelligence. So I'm not against. I'm working with artificial intelligence for about 20 years. I started to work artificial intelligence when I was under my undergraduation. Since then, I was in love. But we should not forget the dangers of artificial intelligence. Should not forget that artificial intelligence will be taking decision for us. So if artificial intelligence will be taking decision for us in the future, how can we avoid all the traps of artificial intelligence? How can you avoid that artificial intelligence will be taking decisions that are going to affect people? How can you avoid the mass destruction of artificial intelligence? By method destruction, it means like exclusion of people of society. I was reading a book recently about called the trap of meritocracy. So maybe the trap of meritocracy will be even worse, even worse with artificial intelligence, because if you can select who's going to see the ad of a job, and this ad of a job just go to white people or to whatever, which kind of the classification they decide to show the ad, that's a kind of method. This means that people are not going to see a job offering. They're not going to be offered the opportunity. It may sound like naive. It may sound like you are creating polemic where there is no need of polemic, but that's very serious, because if you think in terms of society and you decide that you are going to show the job to just a set of people, today is a job, tomorrow is what? I mean, it's a kind of selection, because it again, there is no problem with machine learning. Machine learning is doing its job. Machine learning is doing what it knows how to do. Machine learning is just a kind of pattern recognition. What machine learning does is to recognize pattern. In some case, this pattern is known. It's called supervised learning. Deep learning is a supervised learning. So what deep learning does is to get a set of examples, such as a set of image. They make the segmentation of what they want to the machine learning to find. Then they just automate that. So it's a pattern recognition. In the case of showing a job, whatever you want to show, just to a group of people, which is forbidden by law in most of the country. I think in the United States is also forbidden. I think in Brazil is also forbidden. You cannot like segment someone, just say, in the past in the United States it was possible, as far as I know, to say that I just hire white people, I not hire black people. But now it's forbidden. So the dangers of machine learning, when you do not pay attention to contaminate data, is that machine learning is going to make a selection of people based on their race. It may sound like you are creating a kind of a discussion that has no meaning. I don't know. I have my serious doubt about that. I have my serious doubt that we should not take seriously the fact that so if you do not know what's machine learning, let me explain very simple how it works. Machine learning is a they call black box model, which means that you do not know what's inside. Not that you do not know terms of mathematics. We know terms of mathematics. It's a kind of summation. It's a function. This function make a kind of summation. The summation give an output. Believe or not, it's that simple. Even the brain, it's that simple. But in order to teach the machine, we need the data. We need the examples. Those examples, generally, they come from human. Generally, there is a set of humans. There is even a case that people are paid for that. In other case, they do not have to be paid. So they say to the machine, I want this, I want this, I want this. So this is the input. This is what I want. For example, it could be an image of a park. In this part, you have several child to play. Then you want to make sure that the machine is going to select the dog. Maybe you want to make sure that there is no dog around. So you present to the machine a huge amount of data, a huge amount of image. So this image, they have a lot of stuff, such as child, such as playground, but there is a dog or several dogs. So you just make a kind of like a child. You make like a child. You make a kind of draw around the dog. So you present that several times. You do that several times, then you present to the machine. So the machine will be able to do that automatically. That's called segmentation. That's just one example how machine work. So in the case of the dog, the machine should be able to separate the dog from the background. So if you don't know what I mean, just go to a website called Remove Background. So the site to remove background, for example, this live here has a kind of a software. This software is able to eliminate the background sound. I'm using a software right now, and this software is doing a kind of a noise segmentation. Just able. Let me just show you how it works. Just out of curiosity. Uh, just out of curiosity. Right now, I just removed the noise. I don't know if you'll be able to hear, but there's a huge amount of noise here in the background. So this algorithm, which is called NVIDIA XT voice, is a artificial intelligence based system. They have what called artificial neural network, and this artificial network is able to eliminate. So they are able to learn what is my voice versus what background. The same case of the dog. The case of the dog, what they have to do separate is the dog versus the background. Why? You may ask yourself, what's the application of that? It can be a tumor. If you the doctor, what the doctor does, the doctor see the image, and they separate on the image what is the tumor or what is the anomaly. There is an anomaly. The doctor is able to identify. It can be a tumor. In the case of my postdoc, they were trying to identify some kind of problematic teeth. If you have a tooth that has some kind of a problem, the artificial intelligence should be able to identify. That can be very important for automation because you can do it very fast. Imagine how much is the price of 1 hour of a medical doctor. I think that's cheap. I don't think that the 1 hour of a medical doctor is very cheap. But the robot is much cheaper. The robot, there is no human right. There is no. You don't have to pay anything special to a algorithm. But so one side cheaper, the other side it's very. One side cheaper, the other side is very problematic because now imagine that he now imagine that he now imagine that he now imagine that he that the system is applied in a massive huge amount of situation at the same time. That's what the promise of artificial intelligence. But now imagine that the robot or this machine, this bot, as you call social media, all the bots around in Twitter, they are based on artificial intelligence. So imagine that this bot, let's call it bot, as they call in social media, imagine that this bot was trained with biased data, such as I took a huge amount of data. This data was classified by human, and then human make a kind of prejudice, such as they said that the black people should not belong to a certain place. We do that like secretly, such as there is a book by an engineer for Google, Everybody Lies, based on Dr. House, and he was surprised that people can make a question to Google that they did not do even to the psychologists. There's a case of Google Image. Why Google Image is showing, like when saying Google Image bad hair, Google Image is going to show you black people. specifically in Brazil. It's very strong in Brazil. I wasn't able to find that in English, but in Brazil it's very strong. That was the same. When people ask in Google where the thief lives, they send it to Lula, which is the current president, the one that won. I mean, why are you doing that? It's machine learning. If you're human, all the time that you interact with Google, you make a question to Google, then you click on a link, Google understands that that's the correct answer. So if you're making a search on Google, then Google see that you clicked on the link and you stayed on that link, that's supposed to be correct. Whenever someone posts on Facebook, then you give a like, then you give a heart, then you give a kind of sharing. Google, Facebook, artificial intelligence understand that was the correct answer. So it's not always necessary for you to say, remember that there are two types of machine learning. There is the supervised machine learning, the unsupervised machine learning. In the case of Google, Facebook, such as Google Image, you have a kind of hybrid. In the case of the Google Translator, in the beginning, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you used Google Translator, but there were a time in which Google Translator would ask you for the translation. Then you ask you if the translation was correct. I remember that when you make a translation Google, they will ask you, this is the right translation. Then they will ask you to, if that were the wrong translation, they do ask you to correct the translation. That's machine learning. That machine learning is when you teach a child. How you teach a child? You teach a child by showing the child what's correct, what's wrong. This is the same kind of artificial intelligence. Whatever artificial intelligence makes a mistake, you just teach the machine that's a mistake. How it's done? It's done a simple way. You show the input data, then show the output data. Then you classify output data. This is the wrong one. This is the right one. Then the machine is able to fix its weight. So machine learning is a set of weight. The set of weight they are going to change according to the landscape. Mathematically called it landscape. So in some case, we even can see how the landscape change because it's all about optimization. Here I'm going a bit more mathematical. Behind the artificial intelligence is called optimization. Optimization is when you try to change. For example, go to Google, they look for Hopfield network. Hopfield network is based on physics. It's based on landscape. So when you have a landscape, you have a stone. The stone goes to the point of the smaller energy. It's called the point of equilibrium. It's more or less what happens in reality. So what artificial intelligence does is to find the point of minimum energy. You do not see that because it's mathematical. So behind artificial intelligence, it's always mathematics. So that's the point. The point that you should always find the point of minimum energy. So that's more or less what happens in artificial intelligence. They are trying to find the minimum energy. So to find the minimum energy, they have to make the smallest amount of mistakes. So it's called the evaluation function. I think error function, people may call differently. Again, I have a book called Computational Thinking. On my book, Computational Thinking, I explain this in a more general way. I do not give very detailed explanation, but I try to give you very kind of more or less explanation. So that's why you should that's how it works. Again, artificial intelligence is based on two types of models: supervised, unsupervised learning. Supervised learning, you should tell the machine what you want. Unsupervised learning, the machine does not know what's supposed to learn alone. Deep learning is supervised. Deep learning, if you not know deep learning, is the most powerful artificial intelligence. It was able to decrease the amount of mistake on image segmentation for a very big number. I think it's the mistake nowadays on deep learning is 5%. I think that was one of the biggest boom. That's why image segmentation is very famous nowadays. Nowadays, you can take an image segmentation. You can find people. You can find criminals. You can go around videos and looking for example, You can make like a image mine, like you have a huge amount of image, you go around look for something in the image. Depends on that. Now imagine it's a cancer, imagine it's a tumor, imagine it's a biomedical image. So it's called image segmentation. My first postdoc, I did some kind of study how biomedical image segmentation can be applied. I was surprised to see how powerful this model nowadays. So that's what I like to call robot. There will be a life about in the future how robot wanna save lives, because Terminator is all about the robot killing lives. Terminator is all about robot killing the human race. But robot also can, in this case, bots, they also can save lives. They save lives when they are applied, for example, in image segmentation, pattern recognition applied for medicine, automation of medicine, which was the topic of my PhD. Uh, uh, but on the other hand, you should be always careful. Why should you be careful? For example, I saw a discussion in Big Picture Science with the podcast, which I suggest, in which there is even a book, which I forgot the name of the book, but I can send the book later, in which they show that most of the data, they are for male. Why that's dangerous? Because the physiology of a woman is a little bit different from the physiology of men. So if you have machine that is trained, if it buys data, it's already known. I mean, even the medicine, the physiology. And here I'm not talking about artificial intelligence. I'm talking about medicine. Even the physiology, medicine is biased for men. So they are biased with data for men, heart attack for men, the way the body of the man works. The case of the astronaut, they didn't have the kind of protection for female. There were a case of, I think it was Germany, in which they didn't have the kind of uniform for female. So the female had kind of damage on the skin because the uniform was not created for female. So we can always learn. You can always learn. You should always learn from the kind of problem that you already have. So the problem of biased data, which is creating problem in artificial intelligence, is not specific for artificial intelligence. This data has been biased for years. Our society is biased toward male and white male. So it was shown in the past that they tried to train artificial intelligence. Most of the data were female, were male, white male. So you may ask me yourself, why is so important that you should not have a biased data? You should even ask, what is a biased data? Biased data is when you have a huge amount of representation of just one group. For example, imagine that imagine that you want to build a very equal society, but you just have the white people, male people. That's bias. That's what happened in Brazil. In Brazil, if you go to a photo of the Congress, suppose that you take a photo from the Congress. Suppose that you see the Congress. Suppose that you see the Congress in a video. Most of them are white male, European style, like European. It seems like it's not Brazil. It seems like it's like you are in Europe. So how the politics can represent the population if they are like most of them they are privileged people with privilege? The same kind of artificial intelligence. How can you make sure that artificial intelligence is going to take a good decision, such as a job, such as an ad to whom I should show the head, such as to whom I should focus a kind of campaign. Suppose I'm making a campaign. How can I make sure that everyone is going to receive the campaign? I mean, again, it's what we should pay attention that the problem of artificial intelligence is not about robots. We are very far away from that. Uh, when you think about artificial intelligence, Terminator, Robocop, that's not reality. I mean, we have a paradox called the Moverec paradox, which I not remember the name, but I'm going to leave for you, which make it impossible for us to have this kind of technology. So instead of, I mean, I like movies. I love it. I think fiction is a space where imagination can go wide. But from time to time, you should come to reality. You should go here and say what's real, what's not real. Robocop, Terminator is not real. I mean, it's like those are machine. This is fiction. This is not reality. You should separate what's reality, what's science. So, Robocop, Terminator, they are not possible. They are scientifically impossible. Maybe 15 years, maybe 100 years from now, we may be able to build robots like Robocop, like Terminator. But for now, we should be concerned about how artificial intelligence is changing our lives. If it buys data, if data that are such as European data, male data, again, it's not my discussion. It's already there. If you read the book Weapon of Mass Destruction of Cat O'Neill, you see that how dangerous can be if you not pay attention to artificial intelligence. And to make this the matter even worse, most of the people, the big tech that are using artificial intelligence, they are private. They are private sectors, such as the election is an example, how they influence the election, how they are influencing Google Ads, such as if I offer a job just to white people, that prejudice, but the machine does not, they do not get punished by that because they are machine. So as I said again, Harari did a very nice TED talk in which Harari make a kind of thinking the dangers of the war of Putin against Ukraine. One of the dangers that he point out is artificial intelligence, because as he says, we are not going to give the proper attention to artificial intelligence, the regulation. To be honest, I'm against the regulation of artificial intelligence, but not I'm against in the sense that it should not do anything, but you should promote study, you should promote research that's going to fight, because every time you make regulation, you are making something forbidden. So it's not artificial intelligence is not a political problem; it's a scientific problem. So what have to do? Create more data set that are unbiased, data set that's not driven in the direction of one group of people. You make data set that is not just driven to male and white people. You make data set that's not driven toward European or American. You make data set that is such as in Brazil, that you have a very strong, the good news that artificial intelligence in general, I mean, they do not create prejudice by themselves. So if you take the same artificial intelligence, such as deep learning, and you train it with the proper data set, it will be fixed. Even better, if you use transfer learning, you can even use artificial intelligence that is better trained and train it again, but not all the model, just part of the model. This is called transfer learning. So artificial intelligence is a very rich field. It has all the tools, all the flexibility for you to correct this kind of problem that people are seeing artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is not a political problem, it's a scientific problem. So science should solve it. So that is why I'm against regulation. I think regulation of artificial intelligence can be dangerous. Dangerous for people, dangerous for science. Because what you need is research. You need more and more research. You need data set that's not biased. You need data set that makes sure that all the data is equal. There is no like prejudice against black people, prejudice against women. If the data set is equal, is well balanced, artificial intelligence can easily learn that. So the prejudice of Google Translator, the prejudice of Google Image, the prejudice of Google is not a problem of Google. It's a problem of society. It's a problem of people. When they make the wrong association between teeth and the president from Brazil, it's not a problem of Google. It's a problem of people making this association. The machine is going to learn what people teach. So if you go to Google and make this kind of remember, everybody lies. According to the engineer for Google, everybody lies. He was like scared what people say on Google. You do not say even psychologists. what to say. Machine learning is able to take this kind of machine learning is perfect for learning hidden pattern. So one of the strongest point of machine learning is hidden patterns. That's what they do best. That's what they do very magic. So when people go to Google and make this kind of a hidden pattern, machine learning is able to find, such as the prejudice of Brazilian against black people, such as when you go to Google image and you type bad hair, it's going to find black people. Why? Because that's a hidden pattern. You may deny the prejudice. You may deny that Brazil is a racist country, but Google knows that. You may deny that you may deny, for example, that you have no prejudice against Lula, for example, but Google knows that because when you go to Google and say where is the third and you send it to Lula, that's a prejudice. That's how society lies and lies a lot. But artificial intelligence does not lie. So if you train it properly, if you train it with unbiased data set, if a data set that's not biased, the model is going to do its job. As I said, as I like to defend several times, you should use artificial intelligence because it's not biased, it's not noise. Based on the work of Daniel Kahneman, which is a psychologist, which won the Nobel Prize, he showed that human can be biased, human can be noise. Biased is when you tend to a certain direction, such as you give just a job to white people. But machine, if you train properly, is not going to do that. But you have to train properly. You have to show the data. When I say train properly, I want to say show the data that's not biased. When you try to take a decision, your decision can vary according to your mood, according to your situation, according to the current moment. Machine does not fluctuate based on current trends on Twitter, current. They found one time that the judge in the United States that are using Wikipedia to take decision. So humans are much more like hideous, much more dangerous sometimes than machine because human lies a lot. Human they hide. They create what we call rationalization. Rationalize, such as you do one thing, but you say other. Machine does not do that. I think we should trust machine. You just have to train it properly. You just have to make our algorithm better. That again, that's not a political problem. That's a scientific problem. Science should solve that, not politics. So take politics out of artificial intelligence and finance as many institutes, many universities as you can. So guys, I'm very happy. You are at the end. I'm very happy to be this model one life. As always, we have a sequence of life. All those lives they belong to a group of lives I'm doing, and all those lives they are part of any book I'm right. In the goal of this ebook, you should talk about sci-fi by AI, like talk about the artificial intelligence, watch Netflix. So I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share. Always remember, you can make a clip in the lower part, like the scissor. When you see the scissor, that's called a clip. This clip can be used on social media, it can be used in your blog. I'm very happy I allowed that. I'm very happy that you can share the work. So you can make a clip. You can use a scissor on the lower part. The video can be the cut can be at most 1 minute. That's a limitation of YouTube. You can share. You can share just the point you want. You just have to click this point when you share. Just choose this time. Then the share will be specifically from the point. I have several books. I have several groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. So whenever you see me, I'd be glad to discuss. I'd be glad to talk about any of the lives. Your point of view can be important. Can help me to write the book, the ebook. So if I have your question, I have your doubts, that would be awesome. So hope you enjoy the live. So see you.